Okay, let's talk about the finger bang lore. In 2015, Glennis Olson opened this nail salon that was alternative, meaning it just played like alternative style music, and they would play different kinds of movies and TV shows on the TVs, and they advertised more towards like, people with tattoos who are really into nails. In Portland, that is a lot of different people. For some people, this is their first introduction to Glennis was with this salon, but for people in the know and for people who hang out in certain areas of Portland, they knew her game because she's been here for decades doing some stuff that was not legal. The kind of stuff you would see on Sopranos carried out by the men in Sopranos. You know what I mean? And it was no secret that she opened this salon with, let's say, ill-gotten gains. I don't know, stuff that she had done illegally. And as the salon was opening, Glennis went around town collecting new artists like it was the Bad News Bears and she was recruiting because she was going into unconventional places where people were doing nails. Like because she worked with S workers, she knew that there were a bunch of webcam girls who spent a lot of time doing their nails. And she would say, go to this school out on 82nd or whatever. And then when you're done, I'll hire you at my salon. On the surface, it seemed like she was giving these women opportunities to transition into a new career path, but she was actually taking advantage of them, of course. And in no time, they were getting featured in places like Goop and Vogue and places like that because of everything that was happening with how fast they were growing and how many people were talking about the nail art that they were doing, because it was incredible. Quickly, Fingerbang grew and it opened, I think, 3 locations, and they were booked and full all the time. Like everyone in Portland was going to Fingerbang. Very quickly, Glennis was exalted in her social status to be even more popular than she was, and she was like a gangster. So this added to her intimidation factor. You know how people talk about like Napoleon or even Al Capone, and you see a picture of them and you're like, they're not that intimidating. It's just like this little dude or whatever. But it was something about how they carried themselves. It was how Glennis carried herself that made her very intimidating. You didn't know what her next move was going to be. So she has all this success with Fingerbang, and then in 2020, of course, when COVID hit, everything hit the fan. And I had a lot of friends who worked at the salon, but my best friend worked at the salon, and she was living next door to me. So I saw things kind of changing over those couple of months, and I realized that Glennis has not been giving them their pay stubs. She had checks bouncing. She had things happening that were I've seen in the restaurant business when a restaurant is about to close its doors, you know? And as the schools are closing and things are changing rapidly, like around March 13th, people are saying like, okay, well, we're going to need to know if we can take these couple of weeks off. Like clearly we can't be doing an in-person salon service while the state is shutting down businesses. And we need to know that we're getting paid for that time that we're taking off. And she could not give them an answer about that. Come to find out, she had a tax lien on the business, which no one knew about. She had been lying about how much money all of the people individually were making and basically pitting the employees against each other. There were definitely all kinds of stories that started rolling out in 2020 as people weren't getting paid because they were just like, no gods, no masters. Let's just tell every bit of story because I'm not going to be bullied right now. And it kind of ruined Glennis's reputation. After all of that, after all the criminal activity, this was the thing. So after the salon closed and people were not getting paid and no one was getting any answers about what was happening with the salon and all this information starts coming out, people just start telling their stories, talking about how Glennis had basically been keeping all the employees apart and manipulating all of them individually by playing favorites and keeping everyone in competition with each other. And they were all starving because she was only paying them, I think, 30% of what they were making on services. And then all of the sudden, she decides to sell Fingerbang. But Fingerbang is not a business like a brick and mortar business that she has all of the rights to. It's literally just an Instagram and the lease on a salon and then a bunch of tchotchkes that she has around that salon and all the press that she put into it. But she didn't have like an actual physical thing to sell to these people. So this page pops up called We Got Fingerbanged, where everyone who was willing to talk about their experience being abused by the salon and Glennis started to tell their stories, some anonymously, some said, here's my new salon, follow me here. And a lot of them branched out to open other salons. So Fingerbang was one of the first salons to do après nails, but all of the girls who were trained, who actually did the services there, who were the first ones to do those services in Portland and who have been doing them longer than probably anyone at Finger Bang, are now having their own salons sprinkled throughout Portland. So you definitely can find people who are more equipped to do this service that have left this toxic environment. But from what I understand, Glynis was desperate for money and didn't know what was going to happen because she couldn't make those final paychecks with the salon being closed. I guess she was borrowing from Peter to pay everyone in the salon. So she ended up selling the handle, the Instagram handle, and the salon, and basically trying to sell all of the artists with it. When the artists were like, you cannot do that. You cannot just change management when we're all independent artists and say that we have to go work for this person. So everyone left the salon because they were like, no, you can't just like sell our services to someone we've never met. We don't know who it is. And from what my understanding is, it was just kind of a bored housewife who wanted to plug in and have a business because COVID was happening and she was looking for a new opportunity. So it's kind of strange that they can still use the name because if you look up, like, let's say Google reviews or Yelp reviews, they're probably tying it back to the original Finger Bang Portland, but literally nothing is left of that except for the Instagram. Oh, and another thing I forgot about, all of the people who worked in the salon had to do their nail photos on a Finger Bang background. So the grid on their Instagram looked like perfect. But when the artist left, she would not let them take any of the nail pictures with them. And of course, it has another salon's name on the background. So they weren't allowed to use any of their work for their portfolio once they left. And after they left, no matter if, even if it was in good terms, one person left because of their health, Glynis would always tell them you cannot talk to that person who left the salon to the other employees. She pitted everyone against each other because she was worried if they all got to talking, they would put together the pieces of probably some of her bigger picture criminal behavior. And just as an aside to kind of add to the terrible person that Glynis is, she used to go around town with her two dogs. Like, it was kind of part of the mascot of Glynis, is everyone knew her dog. She even had a huge portrait painted on the floor in the Finger Bang of division of her dog. And when she got in all this trouble where people started to talk about all of the things she was doing, she abandoned her dogs and left town. She abandoned, well, her kids were grown, but apparently she just dipped, left her dogs, left her sons behind, left her businesses, left everything. And no one really knows where she is. I've heard updates of where they say she was trying to be a tattoo artist apprentice in Alabama. I think I heard she was trying to be a nanny in Mississippi or something. So who even knows where she is now? But she's kind of, I don't know if she's like on the run, but she's not in Portland anymore from what I know. And if you go to this Instagram page, there is a collection of firsthand accounts of the abuse that the employees had to go through, on top of some of the crimes of Glynis, allegedly, that people have seen or been privy to. So if you want to know all of it, you can go to this page and snoop around. But, you know, there's a lot to the story and there's so many layers to it. And it's just weird that someone will want to keep a business with that name, knowing everything that happened there, because it just gave the entire thing a bad name and no one really wants to be associated with them anymore. So if you do want to find some great artists, maybe look at their page or look at stuff from like 2015 about them and follow those artists. Or you can go to this page where they have different slideshows of where the artists went as of 2020. I'm sure some of them have moved on, but you can still find links to their work and figure out where they are now. So yeah, that's why people don't like Finger Bang.